Our speaker today is John Jackson. John Jackson served 18 years in prison, and that includes 4 separate stints in solitary confinement before he was transferred to a supermax facility named Pelican Bay. His transfer to Pelican Bay was monumental in a lot of ways. That's where he encountered Hustle 2.0 upon his release and parole in 2019. He was immediately hired by Hustle 2.0 to represent that organization. He has since then been involved and worked closely. He's held networking events in prison, out of prison, and this includes some of the most successful entrepreneurs and business leaders, CEOs in the world. One name that you probably know is Seth Godin, and John is a graduate of the Alternative MBA program that is Seth Godin's program. If you think about what it takes to do what John does, there are, to me, it looks like exactly one person that could do what he does, to be deeply respected from people who are currently incarcerated, including for extremely serious crimes, but also prison wardens and prison staff, academics, business leaders, to be able to communicate across all of those different audiences requires a very different individual, and John Jackson is that individual. I don't know John exceptionally well, but what I can tell you is that he is a good man. And his goodness has made me less cynical. It has made me believe and genuinely believe that people can change. And for that, I am grateful, and we are very happy to have with us today John Jackson.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you so much for having me and bringing me here for the second time. So this is actually my second time getting to speak here at Southern Utah University, and I am very grateful. You all have amazing leadership at this university, and they lead by example. And I don't know how many of you have heard, but a few years ago, they took a huge group of students to prison. And that is not something that universities typically do. So I am very grateful that we get to have this partnership with Southern Utah University, and we get to create change to be able to create an impact for underserved populations, and to interrupt generational cycles of incarceration. And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to 2 people that were in the room. Sergeant Walker, are you here? Will you stand up real quick? And the jail commander as well. So this is Sergeant Walker, and the commander, could you remind me of your name again, please? Shaver. So they are at the Iron County Jail here locally, and they use our program to serve their population. So I want to thank you for being a partner to us, being a partner to Hustle 2.0 and to Southern Utah University, and serving the population that's in your custody. Will you all please give them a huge round of applause? All right, so I'm going to get started with everything else. So I'm going to talk today, I'm going to share my story, but more than sharing my story, I want to create change for you. I created drastic change in my life to live the life that I get to live today, the life that I want to live. And I am not here to inspire you. After you walk out of this room today, I hope you feel inspired, but it's not all I want. If you feel inspired and that's it, I don't really care. I want you to change something in your life. So yes, I did do 18 years in prison, starting at the age of 17. I was first arrested at 17. I did 18 consecutive years in prison. I did 4 years in solitary confinement. I joined one of the largest prison gangs in the United States, and I was a high-ranking gang leader in that gang. And I don't know what you know about gangs, but in the Mexican mafia, when you join, you typically don't leave. If you do, you leave in a casket. But obviously, I'm standing right here today. But it took drastic change. It took very unpopular decisions, and decisions that could have cost me my life. But I'm grateful that I'm here today because I get to live the life that I want. And to date, Hustle 2.0, through our partnership with Southern Utah University, we have served more than 10,000 incarcerated individuals, giving them the tools and the skills that they need to change their life. This year, we aim to serve 20,000 incarcerated people across the country. We started off in two prisons in California. Today, we are in 47 states, and we serve in more than 600 jails and prisons. So we have made an impact across the country, and we're grateful that Iron County is one of the jails that we get to serve in, and so is the Utah Department of Corrections. So how many of you are not getting a result in your life that you want? How many of you are not getting what you want out of your life in a specific area? How many of you are struggling with maybe getting healthy relationships? Maybe you don't even have a relationship. How many of you struggle with addictive behaviors? You can raise your hands for these. Overeating, spending way too much time on your phone. How many have that? Yeah, me too. So what I want to ask you is, out of these, or any that come to your mind, what's a change that you would be willing to make? And I'm guessing that Tyler didn't bring me here to address a change that you want to make in your life of like picking your nose, right? And that may be a serious problem for you. It can prevent you from getting a job. It can prevent you from getting a date. But I'm going to ask you to get vulnerable, and I'm going to ask you to go deep and pick something real. Pick something like something that's up here on this that's going to move the needle in helping you to live the life that you want. So please raise your hand if you are willing to get real and go deep on making a change in your life, at least willing to explore getting real and getting vulnerable. Let's get no alligator arms. I see you right there. Yeah, there you go. No? Okay. So I get pretty interactive with you all. I will call you out, not call you out, but I will engage with you. I ask that if you're in the room, you're participating. No, yeah, you're spectating, but no spectators. You're going to get in, you're going to fill out the worksheet, we're going to share, and we're going to do this together. All right? I'm not just here to speak, I'm not here to talk to you for 45 minutes. So let me grab my own worksheet so I know what I'm asking. And at the end of this, I'll weave my story of how I changed my life so I can hopefully motivate you, and then we'll do some Q&A as well. So what is an area, and I want you to write this down, what is an area in your life that you want to make a change? It could be one that's up here, or it could be any one. So now, what is one in that area? Who wants to share what maybe an area they chose? Right here.
Spending money.
Spending money. Spending too much or not enough?
Spending too much.
Too much. Anyone else want to share what's an area in their life they want to change?
Stopping an addictive behavior.
Do you want to share what that is? Nicotine. Awesome. One more.
My career.
Your career? What are you not getting?
I don't get enough flexibility for schooling, and I don't have.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So what is one specific change in that area that you would be willing to make, or at least explore, to get the result that you want, to stop using nicotine, to get the flexibility that you want in your job, to stop spending? What is one change you'd be willing to make? You can write that down as well. What was your name?
Leah.
Leah, are you finished yours yet?
Yeah.
What's something you'd be willing to change?
Like only using my credit card for things that like occur regularly. Yeah.
Okay. So Abby, right? And what did I talked to her earlier, and I asked her about, what was your name again? Ellie. About getting really specific. So can you tell me again what your change was? What you wanted to change?
Only using my credit card for like recurring things like gas and groceries.
Okay. So that's it's kind of specific but kind of vague. So what I'm going to ask you all is to get really specific. And here's why I say that, because when I was in prison, I would say this, and every person in prison would say this: I'll do anything to get out of prison. And who wouldn't? Freaking getting pepper sprayed, getting beat, fights, stabbings, who wouldn't want to get out of that? But when I say I'll do anything to get out of prison, do you know what I did for 15 years? Nothing. I didn't do anything. I actually did the exact opposite of that. I engaged in violence, I sold drugs, I sold phones, I did everything that kept me in prison. But every day I would say, I'll do anything to get out of here. And I did nothing. I actually added time to my sentence and my behavior. So the more specific that we can get, the stronger the chances we'll actually make the change. So instead of saying recurring expenses like, maybe you could name 3. I'm going on my credit card, I'm only going to use it for 3 recurring expenses, and start small so you can get a win. Get a win under your belt. So for nicotine, what would be a small change you'd be willing to make?
Only having some after meals.
Only having some after meals.
Start.
What kind of meals? How often do you only eat 3 meals a day, or do you have snacks? Yeah, so how many times do you probably eat throughout the day? So 3 main meals, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you would only have nicotine. That's actually great. I love it that you're not saying I'm just going to stop, because that usually leads to failure. How many of you set New Year's resolutions this year? How many of you hit them? Good job. So what happens with going from 0 to 60 is you don't really know your why. Everyone says, oh, you should set a New Year's resolution, and you do it, but you don't really know why you're doing it. You're doing it because everyone else is doing it. Everyone else said you should. So it's great. That's called harm reduction. You're actually reducing the harm that you're causing yourself, which is a great thing. It's a great step. So next, what are the obstacles? What stopped you in the past? Why haven't you done it? How many of you are very, very capable people? None of you are capable? None of you have resources? You're here. You're in college. You haven't failed out. You're here, so you're very resourceful. You're very capable. So what stopped you? Write down the top 3 things that have stopped you from making this change so far. Maybe it's your peers. Maybe it's peer pressure, religious pressure, your school. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's your parents. They paid for you to come to college. You don't want to change your major. Whatever it is for you, what's stopped you so far? Does anyone want to share what 3 of their things are, or at least one? Yeah.
I've got habits, comfort, and procrastination.
Habits, comfort, and procrastination. It's comfortable. What's the changes you're looking to make?
I want to address my body and have more focus with what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share? One more. I'm coming back to you, Leah, because you're really... What stopped you so far?
My boyfriend.
Oh, so it's not your fault, it's his fault. I think everyone in here is like feeling really bad for you that your boyfriend makes you spend all the money. Thank you for sharing. Sorry, but really, thank you for sharing, and we can address it later too. So now what I want you to do is imagine what it's going to be like in 10, 15, or 20 years. Do you have children? Do you have a spouse? Imagine that you don't address the body issues. Imagine that you don't address the overeating, the overspending. And in 10, 15 years, how bad is it then? Like, it's not too bad right now because it's comfortable, right? So obviously it's not too bad because you're not willing to change. But in 10 or 15 years, how bad does it have to get for you to finally say, I'm willing to change it? So it took me 15 years of incarceration, 4 years in solitary confinement. And just to share with you what solitary confinement is like, I want you to imagine being locked in an elevator without your cell phone for an hour, for a day, and for a week. Your restroom is in that elevator. Your bedroom is in that elevator. Everything you need is in that elevator. You never leave that elevator. I didn't leave that elevator for 4 years. Some of the people that we serve have served 32 consecutive years in solitary confinement. And it is an inhumane treatment, but it is because of their choices. I knew the consequences of my actions. I knew that if I did that, if I engaged in gang and criminal activity, that I would be sent to solitary confinement. And I did it anyways. So for you, I want to ask you to close your eyes real quick. And I want you to imagine that you don't make that change. Whatever the change is, you don't make it. Imagine 5 years from now, how bad is the pain? How bad does it get? You keep overeating, you keep overspending, you don't end that toxic relationship, you stay in it. How bad does it get? Who else pays the consequences because you don't make a change? Your kids, your loved ones, your partner, your future kids. So now I want you to open your eyes, and for 45 seconds, I want you to write down how bad it will be in 5, 10, or 15 years if you don't make the change, and who else pays the consequences. Y'all are amazing. Thank you for being so engaged. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the 3 ingredients for change. So I shared earlier about, I talked earlier about New Year's resolutions and why they don't work, why they fail most of the time. It's because people don't assess their readiness, the importance, and the confidence that they have to make a change. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of you are ready? And I want to see it on your hands. How many of you are ready to make the change in your life? So 1, meaning I ain't changing a thing. 10, I was ready yesterday. I should have already done this. I see your hands where y'all, I see a lot of 10s. I see some 8s, 7s, 6s. That's great. That means just about everyone in here is about ready to change. You're ready to. So in level of importance, how important is it to you? 1 being not important, 10 being very important. Let me see it on your hands. How many of you? Wow, it looks like it's very important to everyone in this room that you make that change. Confidence. How confident are you that you are capable of making the change? And that means you have the resources, you can get accountability, you have a mentor who can help you. How many of you are confident that if you commit to doing it, you can do it? You can see it on your hands. Great. Y'all are some confident people. Y'all are ready, and it's very important to all of you. I love that. So circle your number on your readiness, confidence, and importance. And here's why it's really important for you to know if you are ready, if it's important, and if it's confident. So if you're not ready, how many of you were below 5, a 5 or less on readiness? No one? Okay, wow, so don't worry about it. But here's why it is important. Maybe this is some other area of your life. If you are not ready to make a change, stop beating yourself up about it. When people hassle you about, hey, are you going to get this done? Are you going to do it? No, I'm not. I'm not ready. Stop asking me. Stop bothering me about it. I'm going to keep doing it. Stop shaming yourself over it because it's not helping. How many times have you failed or made a bad choice and then beat yourself up over it? How many of you ever done that? Did it help whenever you called yourself names and treated yourself like crap? Raise your hand if it helped. Oh, it didn't help. Okay. Great. So in any other area of your life where you are not ready to make a change, it's great that you know that. Stop beating yourself up. Stop shaming yourself. Lean in. Enjoy it. Because obviously there's a payoff for it. You're getting something out of it or you wouldn't be doing it. So is it important to you? So if you know that it's important to you, you're realizing the consequences if you keep engaging the behavior. How many of you, when you wrote down the consequences to yourself in 5, 10, and 15 years, how many of you felt pain over what it's going to cost you or your loved ones? So great, you've identified the pain. Pain is great for sales, right? Take people into their pain, they'll pay you to solve it. So now you've identified your pain, you know why. You have a better motivation than just a New Year's resolution. Confidence. You're confident you can do it. If you weren't confident that you could do it, this wouldn't work. So for me, when I decided to change my life, I didn't have the confidence that I could do it. I was in prison. We don't have Google. I didn't have a lot of mentors. I didn't have a lot of resources to make it possible. I knew I wanted to change, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do next. I just knew I didn't want to die in prison. I knew that I wanted more for my life. So I blindly stumbled around. I made some stupid choices that ended up being the right ones, but they were also dangerous choices. I could have made other choices, but thankfully for me, it worked out. So now, what I'm going to ask you all to do is, what's a baby step? What's a baby step that you're willing to take towards making that change? And you can write that down. And this is, again, be very, very specific. So if you say, I want to be a better son, or I want to have more communication I'm going to have more communication with my mom. That's a great baby step. But how can you get even more specific? I will text, because great, if you want to have more communication with your mom, send her a text right now and say hi and you're done. Goal achieved, right? But if you want to have more communication with your mom, a way to be more specific about that is say, I'm going to text my mom 3 times a week. And I'm going to tell her, I love her, I miss you, fill in the blank, whatever you want to tell your mother. But don't just say, I'm going to do more of this. I'm going to be a better person. What does that mean? How do you define it? You can't manage what you don't measure. So if you're not measuring what you're doing on better communication, losing weight, stopping spending, if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it, and you don't know what success is going to look like. So who wants to share what their baby step was?
Get an accountability partner twice a week with a professional.
Twice a week, is that accountability partner? Twice a week with a professional. What does the check-in look like with them? What am I checking for? If I'm your accountability partner, what am I checking in on?
What's nicotine consuming?
Okay, so how much nicotine have you consumed? I would, maybe if you wrote out a plan, I would tell them, hey, this is my plan. My plan is to only have nicotine 3 times a day after my main meal. So I know to check in with you. What's your name? Nathan. It's Tuesday. First check-in. Monday and Tuesday, did you have three doses of nicotine at 3 meals? Yes or no? And if you get it, I want you to get an accountability partner. And when you do, your accountability partner's job is not to beat you up. Nick, if you say, no, I had 4, okay, great. Do you want to do something about that? My job is to be like, oh, you failed. Why am I even wasting my time with you? That's not an accountability partner's job. Their job is not to shame you, beat you up, or criticize you for your choices. They're just external, they're accountability. You telling someone else will make you more motivated to want to do it, but their job is not to shame you or beat you up if you fail. So now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to ask you to partner up, and you're going to share everything on your sheet. So y'all can face each other. Everyone find a partner. Face each other. If you don't have a partner, find one. Partner A, raise your hand. If you're partner A, raise your hand. So when I say go, not yet. Partner A, you're going to share first. You're going to have 90 seconds to share what's on your sheet, and then we're going to get 30 seconds of feedback. And partner B, your job is going to be to affirm partner A. Great. How can I help you? How can I support you with that? That takes a lot of courage to make that choice. That's your job, partner B. So partner A, please share with partner B. Your 90 seconds starts now. 3, 2, 1, time. Partner B, affirm your partner for sharing and their courage to take a step toward change. Partner B, affirm. 3, 2, 1, time. Partner B, it's your turn to share your change. Partner A, you are listening. 3, 2, 1, time. Partner B, or partner A, affirm partner B for their courageous choice to make a change. 3, 2, 1, time. All right, bring it back. Great job, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing. Does anyone want to share what it felt like to share their change? What did it feel like to you? What's the change? Yeah.
It feels like it's more real. Like you once you said it out loud, you're more committed to it.
Yeah, it does. It feels more real. You have it on paper. And what I would encourage you all to do is when you go back to your dorms or wherever you go after this, is to write down the opposite. Write down how amazing it will feel in 5, 10, 15 years when you've made this change. Pain is great, but it's also, you don't want to just go away from one thing, because if you're only just doing it to get away from something, you'll find something else to run towards, and you want to realize what you're running toward. Does anyone else want to share? Yes?
One of my obstacles is actually sharing what's going on in my life and like what I'm struggling with. So I walk into this and you're like, okay, you're sharing everything. I'm like, great, that's great. But sharing it did kind of affirm that I can change things and that kind of stuff.
Do you want to share what your change was, other than?
Just commitment to things like homework, exercise, relationships.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So you want to drill down on one of those?
Yeah, for one example with exercise, I have a gym membership. I used to go all the time. Mental health kind of took a turn and I haven't gotten back into it, and it's one thing that I was really passionate about, and now it just feels impossible to get back into.
So what's a baby step that you'll take towards working out?
Going with one of my friends who has the same gym membership and then allowing them to kind of force me into it.
Do you think if they force you, so I come to you, what's your name? Jenna, come on, let's go work out. I grab you by the shirt, come on. Like, screw you, get off me. All right?
Yeah.
Do you think that could happen?
I don't think so at this point, because with the desire I have of change, I know I need to get back into it for my own sake. But, forcing myself to do it versus someone forcing me, I think I would actually be able to do it.
Okay, so how many days a week would you go with your friend? 2 days a week. 2? Great. That's even does it need to be specific days that they go? Do they have a routine? So you just need to go 2 days a week. I like that. I'm going 2 days a week with my friend, and you're going to tell her, hey, I need you 2 days a week. You need to take me to the gym. Check in with me. Take me 2 days out of the week. What's your reward? Reward yourselves. What's your reward at the end of the week if you go 2 days to the gym? What's your reward?
I haven't really thought that far ahead, but probably something, honestly, the reward is kind of in it, like endorphins you feel after the work.
That doesn't work. The reward, like that sounds good. Like the reward is going to no, it's not. Like
I don't know, maybe
what's something you enjoy doing that you don't do all the time? What is it?
watching movies.
So maybe after going to the gym twice a week, you say, no guilt, no anything. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch I'm gonna go to a movie. No guilt, no shame, no nothing. It doesn't matter if I have homework or what. This is my reward, and it's really important that I reward myself for going to the gym and going to this movie because I want to go to the movie again next week, and I want to go to the gym again. So, can you commit to rewarding yourself with a movie and maybe take your friend? Yeah. All right. Great job. One more. Anyone else? No one? I'll point at you. Yeah.
You want to share?
Yes.
All right, so first of all, my name is Derek Gattakai. I'd like to thank you, man, because I came here and I think I made a goal and I made a change pretty instantly. Mine was maintaining a balance between being a student, business owner, and a parent. And I think I never really cared about time management, really, so it never really applied to me until my plate got too full for me. And I think for me, it was choosing which pain I wanted.
Yeah.
Whether I wanted to spend less time with my kids or make more money, or make more money, spend less time with kids. And for me, spending more time with my kids was more important. And because I didn't want that distance from
So you want to spend more time with your kids. What's the baby step you're going to take? What's the change you're making, and what's the baby step?
I decided to carve out Thursdays. I'm going to go check with them Thursdays to sit down and have a specific night with my family. And I'll go there. I'll go tonight and do a family meeting with them and let them know, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is all about us. Let's go shoot some guns.
Can I give you feedback on that? Sure. It's like, I'm going to go here. I'm going to tell you, here's what we're going to do. You're like, Dad, where you been at all this other? Where you been at the rest of the time? Now you're coming in and you're telling me this is what we're going to do. I got other things going on, Dad. Like, you all have parents. Like, how many of you wish your parents spent more time with you? How many of you wish they would come and be like, look, here's what's about to happen. We're about to spend time together. Right? Be like, okay, let me know how that works out for you. I got school tomorrow. So what if the conversation sounds like, hey, kids, first I want to start with an apology. I haven't set you as my priority, and that's a fact. I do this for you, and you are a priority for me, but lately I've been giving my time to other things. I'd like to have a conversation about spending time with you and making you a priority. Are you open to having that conversation? Because if so, I'd like to propose a schedule to spend time together.
Great, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, great job. All right. Hey, okay. Yeah, I got 10 minutes. All right, so I will share y'all want me to share some more of my story instead of giving you guys homework? You all homework? Okay. So how did I get to be incarcerated? I'll share my story of incarceration and the journey to making the change in my life. So when I was 11 years old, I was on my way to school one morning, and on my way to school, I saw my mom's car parked on the side of the road, and I went over and I looked in, and it was my mom's murder scene. The cop said she had been beaten to death. I was 11 years old, and I never knew who my father was. So after the murder of my mother, I went to live with my aunt. My aunt was a drug dealer, and I was with her one night when she gets pulled over and she's got drugs in the car. As the cops pull up, she leans over and she tells me, John, if the cops find the drugs, tell them they're yours. I'm already on probation, and if I get caught with drugs again, I will go to prison. So the cops found the drugs, and I lied, and I said they were mine. My aunt watched as her 17-year-old nephew was handcuffed and placed in the back of a cop car. I got everything I wanted out of that. I got acceptance, I got praise, and before the end of that year, I committed 4 armed robberies and a total of 7 violent felonies, and at 17 years old, I was sent to a supermax prison in California. I misused all the skills that I had, my leadership skills, my entrepreneurship skills. I'm a fast learner. I misused all of that, and I worked my way up in the gang, and I was eventually sent to the only supermax prison that they have in California, which is Pelican Bay State Prison, which is the furthest prison north in California. And I did 4 years in solitary confinement because of my choices to be a gang member and to engage in gang and criminal activity. The day before my 33rd birthday is when I decided to change my life. I was supposed to be released from prison the next day, but instead of being released, I was starting another 4-year prison sentence for crimes I committed in prison. That day, I stayed in my cell, which is something you don't typically do in prison. It's mandatory that you go to yard or go out to the yard in case a riot kicks off. They need every soldier on the yard. I stayed in, I said I was sick, and I cried. And that was the first time since my arrest that I ever really, really, really wanted to go home. Like I said, I would do anything to go home, but I wouldn't. After that, I would really do anything to go home. But I took specific steps. I came out the next day and I told my former homeboys, I'm not doing this anymore. You guys can kill me, do whatever you want, but I will be here every single day, but I don't sell drugs anymore. I don't engage in gang and criminal activity anymore. Do what you gotta do, but I'll be here every single day. But I'm not one of you anymore. I was threatened. I was called every name in the book. Words I won't repeat, but you can imagine what those names were. Eventually, one of the top gang leader at the prison I was at, he asked me, is this what you really want? Do you really want to go home? And I was terrified to say what I knew the truth was, but I was more afraid of dying in prison than what anything they could do to me. And I said, yes, this is what I want. And he laughed and he said, well, good, because you're really a nerd pretending to be a gangster anyways. And you're too smart to be in here. You could do so much more than die in a box. I want you to go home and I want you to succeed. And I still talk to him to this day. And he loves seeing me win and celebrates my wins. But he will never go home. He is serving life without parole, plus 25 to life, plus another life without parole sentence. But finally, in June of 2019, I was released from Pelican Bay State Prison. And since then, I've had the privilege of co-authoring 11 books that get to serve in jails and prisons and teach people who are incarcerated entrepreneurship skills, life skills, so they can make the change in their life to go home and not go back to prison, so they can go home and be the fathers and the brothers and sisters, the mothers that their children need them to be. When I got off parole early in June in 2021. And the first thing I used to watch, I didn't watch a lot of TV, but when I used to watch TV in prison, I used to watch a show called Rick Steves Europe. How many of you have ever seen that show? It's like a travel show on PBS. And I used to watch this show, and I would always watch him going to Paris and all these other places. And then when I got off parole, first thing I did, I wasn't allowed to get a passport, but after I got off parole, I got my passport, and I booked a flight to Paris, and I got to go, I got to go to the Eiffel Tower. I got to ride bikes around Paris. It was freaking amazing. I got to do all the things that I thought I would never get to do. But it's because I made the choices that I did to change my life, to leave the gang. I gave up a job. I gave up my leadership position. I gave up 100% of my income. I used to sell drugs. I used to sell cell phones. I used to sell alcohol. I used to run gambling pools. I was very entrepreneurial in prison. And I used to make a lot of money doing it. I gave it up overnight. And that cost me a lot. But I get to do what I do today because I made those choices. I had 1,000 reasons not to make not to leave the gang, not to do that. But because I did make difficult, unpopular choices that could have gotten me killed, I get to live the life that I do today. I get to ski. I bought my first home, and I just moved to Utah about a week ago. So I live in Draper now, so I live here in Utah. I own my first home. I get to go skiing. I get to come here and speak to all of you amazing people, and I am so grateful for that. So any Q&A real quick? Well, that's all right. Thank you. How much y'all got? 2 minutes?
We got time for maybe.
Couple questions? Yes, sir. Hey!
What was the first proactive choice you made?
Coming out and letting people know. It was coming out to the yard. Then after I came out of my cell the next day, I came out and I told them, I'm not doing this anymore. Like riots, stabbing, all this other crap. I'm not doing it anymore. Can't count on me anymore. And that was the first proactive step I took, was announcing it, saying it, sharing it. Anyone else?
What made you want to reach out to other inmates and help them?
I know what they can do. I know what their potential is because I know what I'm capable of. Like I have like this amazing like confidence that I could freaking do anything. And it's because I did 18 years in prison. You pepper sprayed me, beat me, starved me. It's like, what else are you gonna do to me? Like I can do anything. And these people have been through the same thing. They have these amazing set of skills that you can't learn anywhere else. Like, you can't learn that kind of grit and determination anywhere. Like, you can't be taught that. That's something you have to develop. So, and I want to help them, like, bring that out of them.
How do you teach them to channel it?
So we have courses in our workbooks that teach them to identify. It's a transferable skill set. So if you sold drugs, if you did this, if you did that, here's how that transfers into a professional career. Here's what employers are looking for. If you sold drugs, if you were a gang leader, you managed people, right? You know how to manage people. You know how to get the best out of people. So here's how you translate that onto a resume and into an interview. Yes.
So you had that sudden urge and motivation to want to get out. How'd you, like once that died off, how'd you remain disciplined? Like how'd you build that discipline and how'd you maintain it?
After I believe this is why God put me on this earth. I believe my purpose on this earth is to help people who are incarcerated. So my motivation every day is to, how can I serve more people who are in prison? How can I not just serve them? How can I serve the officers? How can I serve the cops? How can I serve you all? Because guess what? Like when they commit crimes, they hurt you, they hurt me, and I want them to stop committing crimes. That's what motivates me, is stopping them from hurting more people, creating more victims themselves and others. All right, I think that's about it.
I don't know, I feel like there's one more question out here.
Yes, sir.
What's the hardest part about what you do?
Convincing, where's our sergeant at? Convincing correctional officials and that we have a solution for them, convincing them that we have a solution for you when they are not curious about rehabilitation. A lot of times, like most states, and there's a pattern, and you could probably figure out what that pattern is, that in certain states, in a certain region of the country, it's about punishment, punishment, punishment. Punishment doesn't work. You can put me in solitary confinement, you could beat me, you could spray me, do whatever you want, you're just pissing me off even more. So convincing them that rehabilitation works and that you can change people's lives, that's the hardest part, because we talk to them sometimes and it's like, we don't need your program. We got it figured out. Really? You got it figured out? You don't. And so that's the hardest part, is knowing there are people that we need to serve and we can't reach them.
How do you work on actually convincing correctional officers to do that?
I'm a great example. I was there, and I tell them this when I get on a call with them, I was your worst nightmare. Those people you have locked in solitary confinement, I was them. Whatever they did, I did it twice and I did it better. And I changed my life. And I shared this earlier, I don't look like I did 18 years in prison. You know, all my tattoos are under my shirt. I don't talk like I did 18 years in prison. I don't look like it. So when I first meet them, it throws them off. I'll talk to them, they think I'm just some business person, just some director of an organization, and then I tell them I did 18 years in prison, I was a member of this gang, and they know what this gang is because it terrorizes their prison as well. And then I tell them, hey, it was because of this program, I helped develop this program, and it will serve your population, it will make an impact. And then they're curious, they're like, oh, you were at Pelican Bay State Prison, and you changed? Well, if that person can change, a person at Pelican Bay State Prison can change, my people can change. So that's how I start to convince them.
All
we're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.